Hey everybody, Captain Lou here for another edition of Tigers Daily in partnership with the Fan Arch Network. Happy Thursday, July the 30th, 2026. We want to take a moment to invite you, if you haven't done so already, to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is Tigers Daily. We give all the updates, the good, the bad, and everything in between. We talk about the latest rumors. The trade deadline is upon us, coming up here in about 4 days. So we talk about that and a whole lot more. For those of you that have subscribed to the channel, I said thank you very much. The dialogue has been fantastic. The banter, everything. We love doing this. I'm a fan just like you are. And so let's have some fun together here on Tigers Daily. Well, there wasn't a whole lot of fun at the end of the game yesterday in Detroit at Comerica Park. Not a good day. It's not a happy day, I guess you could say, as the Tigers now pack up for their West Coast swing, losing a tough one yesterday. That's an understatement. Epic fail? I would say it was an epic fail. Whenever you blow a 7-0 lead in the 7th inning, that's an epic fail. Tarek Skubal, is it his last start? We'll ask that again here in a few moments. He pitched 6 2/3 innings. With a 7-1 lead, you would have thought it would have been enough to win. But Kyle Finnegan came in, and you talk about lighting a match to a gas can. He couldn't get anybody out in 20 pitches. All he had to do was get one batter out, couldn't do it. 7-3, then it was 7-5. The ending line for Skubal, 3 runs earned, should have only been 1. So it's 7-5 going into the 8th inning. Then they give up a couple of more runs. Javi Baez couldn't get to that long fly ball to center field. 2 runs scored, 7-7 tie. And then the Tigers, numerous chances to win the game in the 9th inning, in the 8th inning, in the 10th inning especially. They don't give any runs up in the 10th. So they go to the bottom of the 10th, runners on the corners. And Valencia, I get it. He was all excited, all just fired up to get that game-winning RBI, first pitch swinging into a ready-made double play. Then, of course, in the 11th inning, they give up a couple of runs, and then boom, Torkelson, first at bat in the 11th inning, first pitch, gets the 2-run jack to tie it up. But again, they couldn't do it in the 12th inning. They give up the run, and they lose 10-9. In the last 5 years, or 7 years, I believe it was, something like that, the Tigers, when leading by 7 runs, were 70-0. Well, that stat's over. That winning streak's over. Oh, my goodness. The 19th game that the Tigers have lost after leading in the 7th inning. That to me is just unreal. That's a stat that I just can't overcome. The bullpen, we talked about it yesterday, I believe, for those of us that have been Tigers fans for a lot of years. Back in the 80s, we used to cringe after the 84 season when Willie Hernandez would come in. He was so unpredictable. And then, of course, back in the late 2000s, you get spoiled when you have a good run with a closer and then they don't have the stuff. Well, right now, nobody in the bullpen is dependable. Kenley Jensen, he got him out of the 9th inning. I get it. He's our designated closer. But how much confidence do you have in Jensen right now and the bullpen for the Tigers? Finnegan, you can't rely on him. Anderson, you can't rely on him. Drew Summers, he did okay, but then he gave up another run. It's just, what do you do? It's just, Detroit's got such a good starting rotation. It's above average right now in Major League Baseball. You would think with an above average rotation, they wouldn't be 6 games under 500. Here's the stat the craziest stat of them all for the Tigers is that they scored 28 runs in this 3-game series and only won 1 game. When was the last time you can recall that the Tigers scored 28 runs in a series, in a 3-game series, and only won 1 of them? And that was that 14-0 shellacking on Tuesday. Boy, this was a tough one to swallow. Tough pill to swallow. The crazy thing is they're still in it. They're looking at maybe 5 games out, in the division. as they head out west to take on the Athletics and then the Mariners and then the San Francisco Giants. But boy, oh boy, my confidence level right now really took a beating. And I know it's just one game. I get it. But this is a broken record when you blow another lead. It's, I think, 32 leads they've blown. It's just, but the telling stat, again, I go back to it, the amount of games that the Tigers have lost this year when they've been leading in the seventh inning. And it's like, it's at 19. I'm beside myself with that. I don't know what else to say. You can look at all the stats you want. It's a game where Tarek Skubal got his 1,000th strikeout and Spencer Torkelson got his 100th hit. I mean, it's just uncanny what Detroit's done. It's just some of these numbers are just absolutely mind-boggling. And so I don't get it. So they're up 7-0 with 2 outs in the 7th inning. Okay, in the 6th inning, they had a runner on second with 1 out, couldn't score. Runner on third with 1 out in the 7th, couldn't score. Runner on third with 1 out, couldn't score. Runners on first and second with nobody out in the 12th, couldn't score. I mean, it was there for the taking. They couldn't get the timely hit when they needed. Now, again, Spencer Torkelson, he got the tying 2-run blast in the 11th inning. I get it. But that's just one. It should have never came to that, obviously. So, I don't know. I mean, this one is, I don't know if it's a season ender, but it's one of those losses that you can look back on and you can say, all right, this was one of them, one of many in this up and down Tiger season. It's entertainment. I'll say that. But boy, oh boy, what's your confidence level in the Tigers right now? As bad as the American League is and as bad as that loss is, they're still in it. But watching that bullpen, that dumpster fire, whatever you want to call it, it's just, I have zero faith in it. But the problem is, the way it is right now and how baseball is played, once your starter gets to 90 pitches, he's done. Now, I'm not saying in this instance that taking out Skubal was a bad idea. He had a 7-1 lead. He was at 93 pitches, and it was apparent that he had lost a little bit of his control. So I don't blame AJ Hinch for this. I don't blame him for pulling him. And I really, honestly, I don't blame him for this loss. Gleyber Torres made an inexplicable play on a throw to second when he had no chance to get the runner out. That may have cost Detroit a run. And he was eventually pulled for a defensive replacement as Baez ended up going to second and Altman went out to center field. So I just don't know. This is just one of those games you just throw your hands up in the air and you just say, what did I just see? It's like watching a train wreck. You want to turn away from it. You don't want to look at it, but you watch it. And, the funny thing is, it wasn't the only game where this happened. The Phillies blew a 6-0 lead. So, I mean, what's in the water? It's almost, it's just one of those games you just shrug your shoulders and you wonder what the hell's going on. All right, well, we talked about it. Skubal pitching. He got 6 2/3, got his 1,000th strikeout, 6 strikeouts on the day. Okay, what's next? The Skubal watch is officially on now. Is he going to stay in Detroit? Is he going to go to Milwaukee? Is he going to go to Los Angeles, Tampa, Atlanta, Philadelphia, Chicago? The watch is on. It was a good performance for him yesterday. It was a very good performance. Now, if you're gauging it on the Tarek Skubal scale, it may not have been he'll tell you it may not have been his best one. I mean, how can you not feel a little bit of pressure and a little bit of nostalgia or whatever going into this game, knowing that it could very well be your last game? Now, he in a Tiger uniform. Now, he has said he wants to stay in Detroit. We all know that. He's made it clear. He wants to see this through this year. But realistically, do you see that happening? And if he does, I mean, do you realistically see him signing full time here in Detroit? I don't. So it really puts everybody kind of in a quandary right now. I mean, nobody has said anything. AJ Hinch, I always want to call him AJ Harris. AJ Hinch has not tipped his hand, obviously. But I don't know if you watched the press conference. I don't call it press conference. When Skubal was holding court in the locker room after the game, he kind of sounded to me. He had that nostalgic tone to his voice, almost like thanking the Tiger fans in the city of Detroit. I felt this tone of resignation with him. So that kind of tells me he thinks there's something going on and something may be going on. What did you get out of that if you saw that? What did you think of it? And obviously, we've asked this question already. We've beat it to death, but it's been the number one topic in baseball for the last couple of weeks. What's going to happen with Tarik Skubal? 6 2/3 innings, 3 runs earned, I should say. He left giving up 1 run. But Finnegan again couldn't get an out in the 7th. And so he ended up getting charged with 3 earned runs. Was that the last outing we saw out of Skubal? He's pitched so well for the Tigers. And again, in a perfect world, I'd love to see him stay. I'd love to see him extend him. Give him that contract next or whenever the CBA is figured out. I would love to see him finish his career in Detroit. But realistically, I just don't see it happening. So they can still make trades. They can make a trade and get a quality starter back from Milwaukee, from LA, from Atlanta. And they could still get in the playoffs. And they get something in return. Someone that can plug in right now, and then a couple of prospects, maybe 3 prospects. So it's out there. And, we're going to talk about this at length tomorrow because we're on an off day. The Tigers have a travel day. So on tomorrow's show, we're going to go through all these potential deals maybe for the Tigers to make as buyers and sellers because, again, they are in that unique situation where they can be both. They can still go after a reliever. They can go after another bat. They've got some bats in the minors that they could trade for a reliever that could help. Any kind of reliever I think could help Detroit now because as we mentioned a little bit earlier, I don't have that confidence in them. I don't know about you. So anyways, if that was Skubal's last start in Detroit, I say thank you. Thanks for the memories and thanks for the back-to-back Cy Young awards. Thanks for help making Detroit relevant again. I'd rather talk about what they can do for the playoffs as opposed to being 30 games out. So they're making them relevant. Yes, I don't want to play for the future, but I also want to be realistic. And again, I go back to what happened with Ohtani in Anaheim. They got nothing for him. So, and I don't think a compensatory first-round draft pick to me is worth the risk of him not coming back. So, and this does not mean we're giving up on the season either. Like I said, starting pitching is Detroit's. That's the best thing they got going for them right now. I think this could be an opportunity for Detroit to stock up and still get a starter in return and make a run to the playoffs. I think it's there. So, but in order for that to happen, Scott Harris has got to show us something he hasn't really been able to do. He takes center stage now. The spotlight's on him, and it's going to be on him from here on out, especially through Monday afternoon. The trade deadline is 4 days away, so the spotlight is really going to shine on him. What are they going to do? I mean, are they going to stand pat? Who knows? But, I look back at what they got last year. We talked about it yesterday, what they got last year when they were buyers. The only player left on the roster who's doing anything is Finnegan, and we saw what he did yesterday. Not a whole lot. He couldn't even get anybody out. So what's your confidence level in him? Scott Harris, that is. This is a make or break time for him, I would think. Who knows what Chris Ilitch is thinking. But my thought on it is you still want to try to win. And I'll tell you why. Who knows when we're going to be playing baseball again in 27? The half the season could be gone. You're going to lose ticket revenue. You're going to lose concessions. So if I was Scott Harris, I would at least try to be a buyer potentially to make up for some of that lost revenue by getting some playoff revenue. So he's in such a tough situation. I don't feel sorry for the guy. That's what he signed up for. But, this is, again, we talk about it and talk about it. He's in a situation right now where they're both buyers and sellers. They're not out of it by any stretch, even though it may have looked like it today or yesterday with that embarrassing loss to the Baltimore Orioles and the way they lost. So he's definitely in the spotlight right now. So the camera's on you, Scott. The spotlight's on you. This is what you get paid the big bucks for. This is why supposedly the Tigers hired you away from San Francisco. It's time to put up or shut up. Such an important time. You and AJ Hinch are under the spotlight. So it's going to be very interesting these next 4 days to see what happens with the trade deadline. All right, we mentioned it. Detroit's got a day off. They're heading out west. A bounce-back series is needed. That's an understatement. Who would have thought that Detroit would have lost the final 2 games to Kansas City, and then with Baltimore, like we said, score 28 runs and only win 1 game to go 1-4 out of their last 5? I didn't see that happen, and I really thought this could have been the chance for the Tigers to really do something well for us. Well, they've got a chance still. I know it sounds like a broken record there too. This Athletics team, there's no excuse for Detroit not to take 2 out of 3 out there in Sacramento. Then, of course, they go to Seattle. They get a day off on Monday, trade deadline Monday. Who knows what the starting rotation is going to be like there. But there's no reason Detroit can't take 4 out of 6 on this road trip. I know that, or on those first 2 series. Then they've got 3 with San Francisco. There's no excuse Detroit can't come out of that road trip with a winning record, 6-3, 5-4. And then after that, they've got that crucial series, that homestand with Cleveland and Chicago. But it starts with the Athletics. Somehow, they're professionals. Somehow the Tigers got to bury this loss. There's nothing to learn from that. I mean, they blew the lead. They got to mentally just shut that out. It's just 1 game. But now it's important. Not that this wasn't before, but now it's important. Starting tomorrow, game 1 of the 3-game set with the Athletics. It's got the time is now. So we'll see what Detroit's got with them. All right, let's take a look at real quick. We got a moment or two here. Let's take a look at some of the comments from yesterday. Now, one of the questions we asked is, would you really root for a team to lose? And TLC PRC says, no, rooting for them to win ever since he can remember his first game. I'm right there with you. I'll never ever root for a team to lose. It's all. Here's Corey Leland. I am 2 in your age bracket, being a Tigers fan since before birth, tanking for Torkelson and the whole bit. He's not rooting for them to lose. He's rooting for them to get a decent turn for Skubal and potentially Mize and Torres and Jansen and anybody else under contract that's not under contract for next year. I agree. Don't rule out Mize being on the trade market. That's potentially out there. Trade. And you can improve. He's right. You can improve on your way to the playoffs. And, JPM 6002. I'm in your age bracket too. I am for trading Skubal. Have to see through the forest through the trees. I love that. I love that phrase. Trading Skubal is the right thing to do for the future of this franchise. Chasing the white whale this year is nuts. And he might just be right. Yeah. And how about Wolfguard 60? Agree with you. You don't need to root for them to lose. They'll handle it all by themselves. Yeah, boy, did they ever yesterday, huh? That's crazy. And he thinks that Skubal needs to be traded unless there's a chance you're going to sign him to an extension. And I, along with them, don't think it's going to happen. And uh, Al Fever 7335. We don't need one Mason Miller. We need 5. Yeah, he's right there. Oh my goodness, what a bullpen. Oh, I tell you. It's I just don't get it. I don't know. All right. Thanks for the comments, and I appreciate that as well. And again, we invite you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. So, all right, that's going to do it for this edition of Tigers Daily. I want to thank everybody who took time out to be with us here today on the show. We'll be back tomorrow for another edition of the Daily, the Tigers Daily, that is. Until tomorrow, Captain Lou saying, keep your heads up, keep your sticks moving. All right, let's try it again. Keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving. And as always, keep your minds open. So long.